let's taste some wine. So the bottle that we have today, I actually already opened up because I needed to have some wine with dinner. And to me, after so many years of having wine almost with every meal, it just is difficult for me to think about having dinner without it. So since we had already had dinner set before I did this video, I decided to open up a bottle. So the wine that we're having today is a special bottle. This is the Ronco Severo Pinot Grigio 2015. It's Pinot Grigio, but it's Pinot Grigio like you've never had. So my dad, who may or may not watch this, he drinks Pinot Grigio from those lovely people from the Central Valley who own half of the Veneto, who shall remain nameless, and he buys it in, or he used to, actually. You know what, I think he's not. I think he's into boxed wine now, but before, he was buying it in the big gallon jug, and it was Pinot Grigio that was stripped of any sort of character and didn't have any flavor, and he'd put it over ice and drink it like it was water, which it was. So this is actually completely different. This was one of the first wines that I tasted when I was deciding to start my own import company in 2008. I went over and I did some of the shadow fairs at Vinitaly, the biodynamic fairs and the organic fairs, and the first wine that I tasted when I walked up into this villa that was having a tasting of organic and natural wines was the Pinot Grigio Ramato from Stefano Novello from Ronco Severo. And I also tasted the Merlot and the Schioppettino, and they were, amazing wines. And so I said to him, hey, I want to import your wines. I don't have any money. No one, everyone knows me, but I don't have any money, and I'd like to import your wines to California. Do we have a deal? And I shook his hand, and then after that, like 10 other importers went by that day and tried to become his importer for California. Probably not 10. I'm exaggerating a little bit because, I can. And but at least I know of one in particular that did. And at the end of the day, I went back to him, and I had tasted. After that, I had thought to myself, man, this wine importing thing, this is going to be easy. If I have all the wines that taste like this wine, that wine, it's going to be easy. And so that was the first wine I tasted, and I tasted another 200 wines that day, and all of them were shit. No, not all of them were shit. Some of them were not that great, and some of them were great. But this was the wine that I ended up wanting, and so when I went back at the end of the day, I looked him in the eyes, and I shook his hand, and I said, hey, do we have a deal or not? And he said, yeah, we have a deal. So now, 11, 12 years later, we're still in business together, and these are still two of my favorite wines in the whole portfolio. So this is Pinot Grigio, but it's made by fermenting the wine on the skins. So Pinot Grigio is actually gray Pinot. There's Pinot Bianco, which is like white Pinot and usually has green grapes, and then there's Pinot Nero, which is a red grape, obviously is Pinot Noir, which is what makes the great wines of Burgundy, and it also has color, and Pinot Grigio is in between. And so when Pinot Grigio really gets ripe, it actually takes on sort of a much darker color, and so you'll see that. So this is actually what real Pinot Grigio, unfiltered, native yeast fermented, biodynamically farmed, fermented on the skins for 42 to 45 days. I can never pin them down because, I think it changes vintage to vintage. But this is the real color that you're going to get. So you're going to see that incredible orange color. And this is a real orange wine. There's lots of people that call other grape varieties orange wines, but in my opinion, unless it's got this color, you can't really call it an orange wine. I mean, I guess you can. You can just call it a skin contact wine. Anyways, so this wine is from Friuli. It's from Prapoto, which is in the Colli Orientali del Friuli. But because he ferments it on the skins, you actually can't call it from that DOC. So they actually call it just, it's an IGT, which is Indicazione Geografica Tipica from Venezia Giulia. Because you could never submit this wine to any of the authorities of the DOC to get certification, because they would reject it out of hand because, of course, it's fermented on the skins. So what's great about fermenting it on the skins, of course, is that you get a little bit of tannin, right? So the wine actually takes up the tannins out of the skins of the grapes, and also you get sort of that structure that comes with having a little bit of tannin in the wine. And then, to me, the mark of a truly fantastic orange wine, especially from Pinot Grigio, is that it has that minty aroma, spearmint aroma that you get from Pinot Grigio that's actually been fermented on the skins, which you can only get from Pinot Grigio that's been fermented on the skins. So the word, after I said Pinot Grigio Ramato, and Ramato comes from the word rame, and rame is copper in Italian. So it's Ramato, so it looks like it's coppered. So here, even though the wine has a lot of acidity, a huge amount of acidity for a 2015, which is a relatively warm vintage, and a huge amount of acidity, what you're also looking for is you're looking for texture and depth, and in this case, that spearmint character in the mouth as well as in the nose. And for me, there's no more perfect wine than this. The current vintage is 2017 that I have for sale. This is actually 2015. I've opened up a 2014 before. For me, the less alcohol, the better. But it's hard with these wines because, of course, you need full physiological ripeness of the skins, or else they'll take on some weedy characteristics. So these just because of the philosophy behind making skin contact whites, these actually have to be a little bit more alcoholic than usually I'm comfortable with, usually around 14, 14.5. I like my wines to be a little lighter on their feet. But the great thing about this wine is it makes up for, that having to be that alcoholic with the freshness in the mouth. And I think it's actually almost a perfect wine. But don't tell Stefano that, because he still needs to keep striving to make the wine even better and better and better after being one of the pioneers of making this style of wine. Anyways, sorry this was a long one. I hope you guys are well, and take care. Bye.